In the opening scene, a lady named Elizabeth sings a karaoke of a Christmas song, drunk and bitter at her father-in-law's financial company's holiday party. Some of the guests record her and eventually, a man drags her out of the stage. In the next scene, Elizabeth's flight arrives in New Mexico, and after she has landed, she reaches out to her fiancé, Connor, over the phone to inform him that she has arrived. He asks if she will visit her family, but that's not in her plan. She reminds him that she is just there to close the deal for them to buy the ski resort. He encourages her to carry out the assigned task efficiently and close the deal before Christmas, because there will be an additional bonus from his father. She does not doubt that this particular task will be very easy for her to achieve, since the owner of the property is a family friend. She ends their discussion quickly to receive a call from her friend Julia. Julia wonders where she is, and reveals that her video at the karaoke is trending on social media. Elizabeth quickly ends the call to check it out as she arrives at the ski resort. At the ski resort, a man named Randy is assisting some people with their Christmas tree. Elizabeth, who is in her car, checks the video and screams because it's much worse than she had envisioned. It's utterly embarrassing. The people hear her scream. Eventually, she decides to focus on the business she had come for, which is buying the ski resort, and will deal with the video later. Randy decides to check if she is fine, but she's already out of her car and like it could get any worse, her heel gets stuck. He suggests she gets a proper ski shoe, but she insists she will be fine. He assists her and wonders what a city lady like her is doing in a ski resort. She proudly reveals she is on a business trip to see the owner of the resort. Randy says the owner is busy at the top cutting Christmas trees for people, but he will help her up in his ATV since he is headed up there to meet him anyway. Even though she will have to get changed into a ski outfit to meet with him, she accepts. After all, she's there for business. Upon arriving, Randy finally reveals he owns the ski resort and his father is late. It happens that he is Elizabeth's ex-boyfriend and the latest owner of the resort. Elizabeth is surprised and sorry about his loss. She notices that she does not recognize him initially because he has physically changed and is looking better than before. He used to be fat. He mentions that he went to weight loss rehab, started eating healthy, and he's skiing and hiking every day. Randy can't help but reveal that he has seen her karaoke video, and he even finds it as funny as the first one at her sister's wedding, which was 10 years ago. Back to business, Randy reveals he has no intention of selling the ski resort because the land has been in his family for generations, and the whole community loves the place, including her family. He wonders if she has visited her family, but she claims she is simply there for a business. Randy sees the resort as a perfect bonding place for the community, and selling it will bring about a change to it. To persuade him to sell, Elizabeth says she will be able to convince her boss to make it semi-private, but if he does not accept their proposal, they will get another resort right within the community, and he will eventually have a rival. Randy promises to think about it and get back to her. She asks that he give her a ride, but he declines and suggests an alternative route for her, which is through the resort. While passing through, she can't help but see how beautiful the place is and how happy the people are. On her way to her car, she bumps into her estranged sister Lynn and her family. They're glad to see her, but her children don't seem to be. Lynn, who is so full of herself, wonders if she's there to watch her win the town's annual winter challenge, the Christmas classic, and also celebrate their anniversary with them. Elizabeth does not reveal why she is in town, so she lies about heading to their parents' house. She quickly leaves to avoid more questions. On getting to where her car is parked, Elizabeth is shocked to see a flat tire, and she gets more stressed and bitter about the whole situation. This is not what she is expecting after running into her sister. Randy meets her in that predicament and offers her a lift. She grudgingly accepts when he insists. While in his car, she wonders why he never left and pursues his passion. Randy reveals he did leave and went to the New York Institute of Technology for 4 years to study computer science. This amazes Elizabeth, who has a hard time envisioning him in Manhattan. He even worked several years for an IT company, but later he had to decline a job offer and return after his father's passing to run the resort. Randy drives to her family house because he is assisting Lynn with some lighting for her house, which is also part of the Christmas classic competition. Her sister has been winning for 9 years now, and if she wins again, it will make it her 10 years holding the title. He thinks people will start getting bored if she continues to win, and maybe it's time for a change. So he wants her to compete with Lynn and beat her if she wants him to consider selling the ski resort. Elizabeth declines because she doesn't think that it is possible to beat her sister, and she has even stopped skiing for a long time. Randy tries encouraging her to join the competition by reminding her that she has always been a better skier than her sister, and that her parents would love it. He maintains that he will be willing to sell if she wins the competition. But if she is not up for it, she can tell her fiancé and his dad that his final answer is no. This is not the bargain she had expected. While they are still talking, her father arrives and is glad to see his daughter after a long time, thinking she's there for vacation. To not disappoint her father, Elizabeth decides to go with the happy flow, and she claims that she is indeed there for Christmas. Much to Randy's surprise, she even lies that she did not have any luggage because the airline lost them. Her happy dad invites Randy in for an eggnog, and she secretly urges him to accept because she does not want to go in alone. Now she owes him two. On entering the house, Elizabeth heads to the kitchen to surprise her mother, while Randy and her father are left alone. Randy is left speechless after seeing the scary art his granddaughters drew. Elizabeth surprises her mother in the kitchen and she's also glad to see her. She initially thinks her daughter has brought her handsome fiancé, but is disappointed to hear that he is busy and couldn't make it. However, her mom hopes she has not blown the engagement. Her Auntie Betsy and her new husband, Akeem, join Randy and her father. Upon seeing Randy, Betsy goes in for a rather uncomfortable hug. She even introduces him as the ski bum to Akeem. She reveals their interest in participating in the Christmas Classic, to give it an international division because she and Akeem got married the week before. She even claims that it was love at first sight, with the hint of having dual citizenship. She hears Elizabeth's laughter from the kitchen and quickly leaves to meet her. Elizabeth is amused that her aunt got married again for the 6th time. Lynn arrives with her family and she is not in a good mood. She calls out to her mom and shows them the trending video. Her husband is forced to take care of the bored children while Randy and Akeem watch him. After seeing the video, Lynn gets more angry that she made fun of the handmade piece that she sent her. The two sisters argue and fight about being jealous of each other. They all find the video funny except Lynn. Her kids asking questions based on what they heard from the video makes it even more embarrassing for her, so she has to tell her husband to take them out. After she leaves, Elizabeth decides to accept the Christmas Classic challenge and take her sister down. Later, she receives a call from Connor and he asks about her progress with the deal. He hopes she will be able to close the deal before Christmas because his dad wants to own the resort by Christmas morning. She assures him that she will seal the deal because Christmas is still 7 days away. The good news is that he wants to sell, but just wants more money than they are offering, but her fiancé laughs it off because there's no chance the Dinky Resort, as he calls it, will get more money from them. She also mentions the other condition given to her, which is that she has to beat her sister in the Christmas Classic competition. But Connor does not hear that because he is busy with his friends, so he ends the call abruptly. Her father joins her and she wonders what they did to her room and clothing. They had to give some out and her aunt's luggage is now in her room since she travels a lot, so she sees no point in getting her apartment. To solve her no-clothes situation, she will have to share her aunt's clothes, which is not something she looks forward to. Regardless of the situation, her father is delighted to have her back. The next day, she wakes up to a loud sound of music and wonders what the noise is about. It is her Aunt Betsy and Akeem dancing to the music. Her father joins her, revealing that it's their 9-morning festival of celebrating the days leading up to Christmas, and they are on day 3. It's a tradition in Akeem's country. She's unable to get some sleep again. Elizabeth goes to the ski resort to practice and she bumps into Randy. She asks that he give her a pointer, but he declines because it means she is asking for help to win, so he can sell the ski resort that has been in his family for generations to her billionaire fiancé's family. She understands him and decides to train all by herself. Upon getting to the hill, she's surprised to see one of the trainers use her name to do something stupid. She does not let that discourage her, and as she goes ahead to train, Randy sees her and is impressed. After her training, she's glad that her car has been fixed by Randy, who leaves a note on the car to welcome her home. Meanwhile, Lynn, who is a perfectionist, complains a lot about her husband not getting it right with the Christmas light decorations. She is glad when he finally does it the way she wants. Randy is also not spared from her orders and he assures her he will give her the best. Elizabeth joins them. Being fully aware of what her sister is capable of doing, she confronts her to stop being bossy. But she won't stop and mentions that she's jealous because her life is perfect. Elizabeth finally reveals her plan to compete with her and Randy, who's tired of her complaints. He decides to quit the job. He has decided that he will be training Elizabeth and he apologizes to Byron, who feels sad because he's all alone with his bossy wife. Elizabeth can't feel so much happier. The two sisters are now officially at war. The next day, Elizabeth wakes up as usual due to the sound of the loud music, and she sees that 2 other people have joined Betsy and Akeem in their traditional dance. Later, she gets to the resort, and Randy shows her around, revealing the first task of the competition is to design how she wants to decorate her house. She hesitates because she doesn't know about creative design. As he leaves to gather some drawing materials, she sees the picture of her sister with the trophy. She suddenly feels more motivated to win. He then takes her to a beautiful spot, where she can feel inspired while she draws. After drawing, it's time for her to get materials for the design at home and also to help her dad. Randy gives her a lift to her father's shop. Her dad is glad to have them assist him, and he's impressed at how much Randy is willing to help. He believes they're a perfect match and thinks she should consider dating him. She points out that they're just friends and nothing more. Nevertheless, she's glad to be home and plans to stay around if she wins the competition. Randy sees them and he's glad she's bonding with her father. So in the next scene, while getting ready to train, he reveals how his ex-wife hates skiing. She's surprised and also feels bad for him. The next day, she's already getting used to the early morning music from Betsy and Akeem, and some of the neighbors are even dancing to the music. She peeps from the window while her father joins her with a cup of coffee. It's only a few days left before the competition and she can't wait to win. Even though he loves them both, he confesses that he will be happy if she wins. Meanwhile, her mother tries to teach Lynn's children how to bake and decorate Christmas cookies. Elizabeth joins them and realizes that the children are not having fun as expected. She suggests they go out, but they mention that it is not on the list. She discovers her sister has a to-do list for them each day. Surprised by this, she tells them to ignore the list, a decision that her mother supports, and something the children are eager to follow as well. She then goes sledding with the children at the ski resort, and they all have fun. The children are delighted to try something new. Finally, they are bonding the way families should, instead of bickering. Later, when they get back home, her father decides to avoid listening to the two sisters' argument. The children reveal how much fun they had and their father quickly takes them inside. Lynn confronts her sister for breaking the normal routine for her children and warns her to stay away from them. Elizabeth is not surprised by this reaction, but she still hopes she can appreciate her for being kind to her children. In the next scene, Elizabeth and her father decide to join Betsy, Akeem, and other people in practicing their tradition. The lovebirds have successfully influenced them, since they all have so much fun dancing. Later, we see Elizabeth in the resort while Lynn, who is in the gym, trains and gets ready for the competition. Later that night, which happens to be the first day of the competition, the host introduces Lynn and her family and reveals they're there to see Lynn's house light. Close to them is Randy, trying to fix Elizabeth's light. She joins him and he reveals he has a surprise for her. When Lynn reveals her light, the people are not that impressed with the design. However, when Randy unveils Elizabeth's, they can't help but notice it as a unique design. There are not just lights, but also air dancers, and even music. The host and all the people admit it is more beautiful. Everyone dances happily, while Lynn watches angrily. While Elizabeth and Randy share a loving look over their achievement, Connor joins them. She's glad to have him there, and she introduces him to her dad. Randy decides to give them some time alone. Elizabeth is announced as the winner of the first event. Lynn struggles to accept the fact that her sister won the first event. The next morning, Connor wakes up to find Betsy's husband's tradition weird. Even as she explains that it is a tradition, he doesn't seem interested. He is irritated instead. She leaves him to join them. Byne also joins them with his children and they all dance and have fun. Later, Elizabeth takes Connor to the ski resort. And to make matters worse, he feels like there is nothing special about the place. She is surprised he can say this and promises to show him there is and is eager to prove it to him if she's allowed to oversee the project they have for the resort. But unfortunately, he has a shocker in store for her. He reveals that once they get married, she will have to quit work. This comes as a surprise and she begins to wonder if that is what she wants for herself. Randy bumps into them and she introduces them as she leaves to train. Connor pretends to like the resort so he can convince him to sell, but his trick does not work for him. In the next scene, the competition host introduces the continuation of the Christmas classic and mentions that the resort is set for the competition. Randy and some of his team get everything ready for the event. The first event is the men's sprint and Lynn anxiously wants her husband to win. Elizabeth joins her, and seeing how riled up her sister is, she tells her that it is not about winning but having fun while at it. As the defending champion of the title, Lynn disagrees with her and they argue about winning and having fun. However, all the men have fun. Later, the host introduces the women's sprint and mentions how two sisters will be competing for the title. As they are about to start the second round of the competition, Lynn tries to discourage her sister from competing by mentioning how much better she is, but Elizabeth ignores her yapping. The instructor introduces a new pattern to the game and reveals they will need to carry their partner while running through the ice. Byne joins his wife and Connor declines to join Elizabeth. She's disappointed and all the spectators feel bad for her. She asks for Randy's help and he accepts to be her partner. But at the end of this round, Lynn wins, making their scores even. The next morning, Connor complains about the early morning dance tradition and wishes they can get a hotel to stay instead. Elizabeth ignores him and decides to join them as usual. Her father bumps into her. He's bothered and wants to know why she's competing with Lynn. He suspects there's something more that she is not letting him know. She lies and still claims that she's simply home to see her family. Unknown to her father, who's glad to have her around, she is still trying to buy the ski resort. Lynn sees them from afar and Elizabeth encourages her to join them, but she declines. It is the final day of the competition. Randy comes across the newlyweds, Betsy and Hakeem, so he reminds them that they are to participate in the competition as international representatives. Betsy goes first and all the spectators applaud her courage. When it's Hakeem's turn, it turns out to be a disaster because he's not good at skiing, so the spectators make fun of him but he doesn't care. He is having fun, and he is the only competitor, so it's a win for him anyway. After a while, the host introduces the final event and Connor watches from the cafeteria. He reaches out to his dad on the phone and updates him on their progress and how close they're to closing the deal. Elizabeth meets Randy for some words of encouragement, but he's not happy with her because he wants her to be able to make the right decision when it comes to relationships. He believes she's not happy with her fiancé, but she fails to admit it. He leaves her to make the right decision on her own. She sits right next to Lynn and they get ready for the final stage. She tries to talk with her, hoping they can settle their differences. Her sister believes she's always running away from people who love and care about her, and they cannot settle their differences if she continues doing that. This makes Elizabeth realize that her sister does care for her deep down and she's not as selfish as she thinks. Then the competition begins and Lynn goes first. When it's Elizabeth's turn, she has a flashback to the moment she had with her father and family, remembering how much love and care they have shown her thus far, and Randy's last word to her. She decides to lose the game deliberately. Lynn is announced as the winner. Amidst their jubilation, Connor is disappointed. He had assured his father that he would seal the deal, but this doesn't look like it. Meanwhile, Lynn gets the trophy, but her family is disappointed at how excited she's to win against her sister. Vine finally decides to confront how selfish she has been to him and the children and wishes she could change. She's surprised because she did not realize all this and she begins to see all her mistakes. On the other hand, Connor reminds Elizabeth of how much is at stake because of her loss, and seeing how insensitive he is, she decides to quit. Angrily, he reveals their plan to buy the resort in front of her family and how much she hates coming home as he leaves. Her parents, Betsy and Hakeem, are all disappointed. Elizabeth apologizes for being selfish, but now she has realized how much the ski resort means to the community at large. Randy walks away. She hopes her family and friends can forgive her. Later, while she takes her walk, her father joins her. He knows she lost to her sister on purpose and he's proud of her. He believes everyone will forgive her and suggests she stay around because of Randy. She does not think that they will not work out because he's disappointed in her. But her father believes he will come around and advises her to be patient with him. The next day, Randy surprisingly shows up at their house and sings for her. They settle their differences and he decides to forgive her. But that's not all. He reveals how he would love them to be together. They kiss and Betsy and Hakeem interrupt them with their dance tradition. Everyone joins them as they dance and sing together. Lynn finally joins them too. The two sisters settle their differences and hug it out. They dance, jump, sing, and have fun. The next scene shows a flashback to 10 years ago when Dick, the host of the competition, and Betsy just got married. While the newlyweds are all loved up, Vine reveals how much he is in love with Lynn and can't wait to get married to her at the ski resort. Back then, a drunk Elizabeth was skiing and she ran into them, knocking everyone down in the process. They all took their pictures with their bruised faces. This is what made her leave in search of a better life elsewhere.